Hello everyone, welcome back to the C programming tutorials. These tutorials are brought to you by Zeedup Technologies. In this video, we are going to discuss about loops in C. So first of all, let us just create a new project and then we will see that what are loops and how can we create one of the loops for ourselves. So for creating a new project, once you've opened your code blocks, you can simply go here and you can just select this console application and click on go. Then you can click on next and select C as your language. Next, then you got to provide a title for your project. So I'm going to provide it as loops. Then you can again click on next and finish. So your project would be created, which you can see by going into source and this main.c file. So we have got some of this code already written. What changes I'm going to do is I'm just going to change int to void, and I'm just going to skip this return 0 line. This is something that you will understand in the functions module, which we will be covering in the next videos. So when we are talking about loops, first of all, what is loop? So loop is something that helps us to do a task over and over again. Suppose we want to do an identical task a number of times, then we can just make use of a loop. A very simple example is, suppose you want to print the numbers from 1 to 10. Then what you can do is actually either write 10 printf statements like printing 1 by using this placeholder mod d and then writing say 1 and then simply using 2, 3, 4 and so on. So you gotta write 10 printf statements. This is one approach. But since 10 is a very small number, you can just work upon this approach without any problem. But what if you are required to write like 1 to 1000 numbers? In that case, you need to copy this line and paste it 1000 times and make changes in each and every line of your printf statement. So this thing is very much troublesome. It requires so much effort. But the lucky thing is you do not need to make this amount of effort whether you are working in any programming language, whether it is C, whether it is C++ or any programming language. For that purpose, we have a concept that is known as the concept of loops. So there are three types of loops in C. Now we are talking about C general. These three loops are, we can just write here the types of loops. So the first type of loop that we are going to read or we are going to see is known as the for loop. So suppose our problem statement is, let us just write our problem statement as well. Our problem statement is that we need to write the numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, so this is a problem statement of writing numbers from 1 to 10, and this is a problem that we are going to solve through loops. So we are going to see all three loops. There are three loops. We are going to see all three loops and see that how can we use them to solve the problems. The reason why we have three loops in C is because all the loops perform the same task, but their approaches to that task are different. So first of all, let us take a look at the for loop in C. So for loop, first of all, we will take a look at the syntax. So the syntax is very simple. All you got to do is write this keyword for, then open and close the parenthesis. In this parenthesis, you need to provide three things. So this three things we will take a look just a bit from now. Then you can just press enter key and just use these curly braces. These curly braces constitute the body of the for loop. So whatever code you will write, it would be written inside these curly braces, and that statements would be executed again and again and again. Okay, So here, inside this parentheses, three things are required. First is initialization. Then you got to put a semicolon. Then you can provide a condition. Then again a semicolon and then updation statement. So what is initialization, condition and updation? This is the syntax of the for loop. Okay. In the initialization part, you need to initialize the variable that is known as the loop variable or the counter variable with a value. Suppose in this case, we need to initialize, if we just take a look at this, we need to print the numbers from 1 to 10. This means the first value that we are going to use is of 1. So we will initialize the variable with 1 over here. Second is the condition, which is the termination condition. Now the loop will execute until and unless this condition becomes false, which means the number of times the condition is true, the loop will execute its statements. So here what do we want is, we want to print the numbers up till 10. So we will write a condition that if the variable is less than equals to 10, then you need to execute it again and again, and if it becomes greater than 10, then you need to stop it. Updation is the updation in the value of the variable. Once you have executed these statements which are inside the body of the loop, you need to update the value of the variable, and once you update it, the condition is checked again with the updated value. So this is how a for loop works, and let us now just write the program so we are able to understand it in a better way. We need to declare a variable. So there are two methods for that. Either you can declare it over here and then just initialize it here, or what you can do is you can simply declare the variable over here only. So I'm going to use int I equals 1. This is what I'm going to declare. Then my termination condition is going to be I is less than equals to 10, and then I'm going to increment the value of I by 1. Why I'm choosing 1? Because 1, 2, 3, I want consecutive numbers like that. If I wanted to skip like 2 digits like 1, 3, 5, 7, if I wanted to print that, I would have incremented the value of I by 2. So for incrementing the value, I can use either I equals I plus 1, or what I can do is I can use the increment operator which we just read about in the arithmetic operators. So how can we use the arithmetic operators or the increment operator? But by just writing this plus plus sign. Now this can only be used when you are trying to increment the value of I by 1, but if you want to increment it by any other number, say 2, 3 or anything, you can just write I equals to I plus that number. And instead of increment, there may be conditions where you need to decrement the value, so the same approach goes for decrement as well. So this is our for loop, and now let us define the body of the loop. That is, what do we need to do? We need to print f, use the printf statement with the placeholder, and we need to print the value of I. And let us just close this. So this is how the for loop is going to work. Just 2 lines of code and you are able to do the work worth of 10 lines. We are just taking 10 as a number, it is small, but if we wanted 1000, we could have written 1000 over here, and just by the usage of these 2 lines, that 1000 lines of code would be spared. Now after that, let us just write another printf statement. And I'm going to just pass on a message that loop finished, like this. And above also I'm going to just print a message that loop started. This is not mandatory, it is just for the printing purposes, so that we are able to identify that from where the loop is starting and from where the loop will finish. Okay. So that's loop started and loop finished. Now let us just try to look at what happens when we run it. So first we need to build it, and then so we need to add a semicolon here and a semicolon here to terminate this statement. Okay, that's why we were getting an error over here like this. Okay, so we need to just again build it up, and now we can run it. So loop started 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and loop finished. The reason why we are getting it on the same line is because we have not used \n, so you can just use \n, and with D also you can use \n, and when the loop is finished then also you can use \n. Now if we just build it and run it, then what happens? Loop started, then all the numbers in the different lines, and then loop finished. So this is how a loop works. This is how a for loop works very easily in the C programming language, and this is actually all about the for loop. In the next video we are going to take a look at the two other types of loops, which are known as the while loop and the do while loop in C. We are going to see everything that how can we just construct the while loop. The same problem we are going to address, that is, we need to print the numbers from 1 to 10, and everything is going to be the same, but instead of the for loop we would be working on the while loops and the do while loops. So this is all for this video.